The night was cold and quiet on Mars Colony 12. Red dust floated through the thin air, dancing around the tall metal towers that held the colony's oxygen domes. Far in the dark field, a single figure moved slowly, his boots crunching over frozen sand. His name was Eli Turner, a human engineer who worked the night shifts, the kind of man who fixed what everyone else broke. He was used to silence. Mars was always silent. No birds, no wind, no ocean waves, only the low hum of machines and the slow hiss of air vents. That night, Eli was repairing a broken power cable near the outer dome. The lights flickered softly and he wiped the red dust from his helmet. Then something strange happened. A small sound came through his comm radio, faint and weak. At first he thought it was static, but after a few seconds he heard it again. It wasn't the sound of a machine. It was softer, almost like a whisper. "Daddy." Eli froze. His hand stopped moving. He blinked and looked around the empty red plane. The voice was quiet, almost like it came from inside his helmet. He tapped his comm link. "Control, do you read me?" Did someone say something? No answer. Just the same soft hum, then again, clearer this time. "Daddy." The voice was small, trembling like a baby trying to speak for the first time. Eli's heart began to race. He looked toward the dark dunes, the faint glow of Mars's twin moons reflecting on the sand. His radio crackled again, and he heard something else. A weak, broken cry, followed by the sound of something moving. He turned on his shoulder lamp and pointed it toward the sound. The light fell on a strange shape half buried in the red dust, a small sack, torn open at the top like a bag made of soft, dark skin. It was moving slightly as if something inside was trying to get out. Eli's first thought was that someone had dumped a survival pod there, maybe a smuggler's crate or a dead explorer's equipment. But then he saw the shape inside shift again and a tiny arm, thin and gray-blue, pushed out from the hole. "What in the stars?" he whispered. He knelt beside it, his gloves shaking as he brushed away the dust. The sack was warm, too warm for Mars's freezing air. And then through the radio he heard the sound again, but this time it didn't sound distant. It sounded like it came from inside his head. "Daddy." Eli stumbled back, his breath catching. "Who's there?" "Who's speaking to me?" No one answered, but the sack trembled. Slowly, carefully, he pulled at the opening. The material felt alive like skin. When he tore it open fully, his lamp revealed what was inside, and his blood ran cold. It was a baby, but not a human one. Its skin was smooth and light blue, its tiny chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Its eyes, large and silver, blinked up at him weakly. It had small ridges along its forehead that glowed faintly, like soft lights under the skin. It looked scared, hungry, and completely helpless. Eli felt something twist in his chest. He didn't know what this creature was, but it was just a baby. A living thing left here to die in the cold. Then he noticed something else. Around the sack were burned markings, strange alien symbols that pulsed faintly red. He recognized them from old colony warnings. They were Voran glyphs, symbols of exile and death. Whoever had left this baby here wanted it gone. He stood up, his eyes scanning the horizon. There was no movement, no ships, no lights, just endless red dust and silence. Then from inside his mind, the baby's voice whispered again, "Please, Gold, Daddy." Eli's heart broke. It wasn't speaking words aloud. The sound came straight into his thoughts. Telepathy. He'd heard stories of species that could do that, but never believed them. He looked down at the child again. Its little hands reached up toward him, fingers trembling. Its breathing slowed. Eli hesitated for only a second. Then he made his choice. "Hang on, little one," he murmured, gently lifting the tiny creature into his arms. The baby was so light it felt almost weightless. He wrapped it inside his jacket, close to the heat pad on his chest. The child's silver eyes blinked once more. Then softly it whispered one last time inside his head, clear, full of trust. "Daddy." Eli swallowed hard. "Yeah," he said softly, his voice shaking. "I guess that's me." He turned and started back toward the dome, moving quickly through the storm of red dust. Behind him, the alien symbols on the sack glowed brighter for a moment, and then faded into darkness. But high above, in the silent sky, a faint blue light flickered among the stars, as if something far away had just awakened and was now watching him. Eli didn't look back. He didn't see it. He only held the child closer and kept walking. Somewhere deep inside him, he already knew tonight, his life, and maybe all of humanity, had just changed forever. Eli ran through the dusty night, clutching the strange child close to his chest. The storm howled around him, turning the red sand into a living wave that clawed at his suit. But he didn't stop. Every few seconds he looked down at the small creature in his arms to make sure it was still breathing. The child's skin was glowing faintly blue in the dark. Its tiny chest moved fast like it was struggling to breathe. Eli tightened his grip. "Hold on, little one. We're almost there." When he reached the dome gate, the scanners buzzed in confusion. The system wasn't meant to read alien life. Eli swore under his breath and hit the override code. The door opened with a sharp hiss and he stepped inside, shaking off the red dust. Warm air filled his lungs as the pressure adjusted. He pulled off his helmet, gasping. The baby made a soft noise, half whimper, half sigh. Its skin shimmered under the white lights. Eli looked down at it and whispered, "You're safe now." He laid the creature on his work table in the workshop beside his quarters. The baby's eyes blinked open, large, silver, and filled with light. They were the most beautiful eyes he'd ever seen. For a moment, Eli just stared, then the voice came again, not through his ears, but inside his head, cold. "Hungry?" He stepped back, startled. You can talk?" The baby didn't move its mouth. It only looked at him, trembling. Eli realized it wasn't really talking, it was thinking into his mind. He swallowed hard. "All right, I'll get you something." He opened his storage locker, pulled out an emergency ration, and warmed some nutrient gel. The baby didn't seem to know what to do until he gently held the spoon near its lips. It took a small taste, and for the first time a faint smile appeared on its face. "That's it," Eli whispered. "Good job, little one." As it ate, he looked closer at its body. It wasn't like any alien species he'd seen in the colony database. The ridges on its forehead glowed brighter when it was calm. Tiny veins under its skin shimmered like liquid light. It was both strange and beautiful. After a while, the baby stopped eating and looked up at him again. The voice came once more, soft, weak, but clear. "Daddy." Eli froze. The word hit him harder than he expected. His throat tightened, and for a long moment he couldn't speak. No, I'm not your—" He stopped himself. The baby's eyes shimmered like it understood pain. Eli sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "All right," he whispered, "maybe. Just for tonight." He wrapped the little creature in a blanket and placed it beside the warm air vent. The baby curled up, eyes closing slowly. Within minutes, it was asleep. Eli sat across the room, staring at it. His mind spun with questions. Where did it come from? Who left it out there? And why did it call him Daddy? He thought of the burned symbols on the sack. He'd seen them before, on the colony warning boards. Varan script. The Varan were one of the oldest alien species in the sector. Intelligent, powerful, and cruel. They were known to destroy entire human stations without mercy. If this baby was one of them, then why did it seem so different? He pulled out his tablet and scanned the creature's readings. Its biology was strange, part energy, part organic matter. Its DNA had similarities to human code, but twisted, advanced. It shouldn't have been possible. A chill ran down his spine. If anyone in the colony found out he was hiding a Varan child, he could be arrested. Or worse, still when he looked at the sleeping baby, he couldn't bring himself to care. It was innocent, helpless. Someone had left it to die. He whispered to himself, "You're safe here, I promise." But as he turned off the lights and lay down on his bunk, something stirred outside the dome. Far in the red desert, a faint hum grew louder. A dark shadow moved across the sand, smooth, mechanical, watching. Then a small red light blinked once, recording the coordinates of Eli's dome. High above, unseen by human eyes, a ship moved through the thin Martian sky. It carried the mark of the Varan Empire, glowing in cold blue light. Inside the ship, an alien voice hissed through static. "The child lives. Begin retrieval." Back in the dome, the baby shifted in its sleep and whispered faintly, "Daddy, danger?" Eli stirred awake, confused. He looked around but saw nothing. He smiled tiredly and murmured, "It's just a dream, little one." But it wasn't. Something in the dark had already found them, and for Eli Turner, this was only the beginning of a war he never asked for. 3 days passed since Eli found the alien baby. The Martian storms had calmed, but inside his dome, his mind was a storm of its own. He sat at his work table, staring at the tiny creature wrapped in a thermal blanket. The baby was stronger now, its silver eyes brighter, its voice in his head clearer. It no longer whimpered when he left the room. Instead, it watched him quietly, studying his every move like it was learning. Eli had started calling her Lyra, a name from an old Earth constellation. It seemed to fit. When he said it aloud, the baby smiled. When he thought it, she smiled too. "Lyra," he whispered one morning. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" In his mind, her soft voice replied, "I like when you say my name." Eli chuckled, shaking his head. "You're talking better every day." "I learn fast," she said proudly, though her mouth never moved. He didn't understand how she was growing so quickly. In just a few days, she could sit up and recognize objects. Her ridges glowed when she was happy, dimmed when she was scared. Sometimes, when she laughed, small sparks of light danced in the air around her. But beneath the wonder, Eli felt fear. He knew this was wrong. Humans weren't allowed to keep alien life forms, especially not from hostile races. The colony law was strict. All alien contact must be reported to command. But how could he report her? They'd take her away, maybe even kill her. He couldn't let that happen. Still, the guilt gnawed at him. He needed help. That evening, he called someone he trusted, Dr. Mara Lynn, a biologist and old friend. She was cautious, but when she heard the fear in his voice, she agreed to come quietly. When she arrived, Eli met her at the airlock. She looked tired, her dark hair messy under her helmet. "You said it was urgent," she said. "What's going on?" Eli led her inside without a word. When she saw the baby on the table, her face went pale. "Eli, what did you do?" He swallowed hard. "I found her outside the dome. Someone left her to die." Mara took a step closer, her eyes wide. "Do you know what that is?" Eli nodded slowly. "A Voran child." "Then you're insane," she hissed. "They kill humans on sight. If they find out you have one of their young—" "I couldn't leave her," he interrupted. "She was crying. She called me. 'Daddy?'" Mara stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Eli, it's manipulating you. That species can read thoughts, shape emotions. You don't know what it's doing to your brain." "She's not hurting me," Eli said firmly. "She's scared. And she's just a baby." As if on cue, Lyra opened her eyes. They glowed softly, and her tiny voice whispered into both their minds. "Don't be scared. I won't hurt you." Mara gasped and stepped back. "It spoke, no, it thought." Eli nodded. "She does that. She's been talking since the night I found her." Mara stared at Lyra for a long time. Then she knelt beside the table, scanning her with a small device. The screen flickered with strange symbols. "Eli," she whispered, "her DNA isn't pure Voran. There's something else mixed in, something human." Eli froze. "Human?" Mara nodded slowly. "It shouldn't be possible. But the readings are clear. Someone engineered her." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "What's wrong, Daddy?" Eli forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." She yawned and curled up in the blanket, her glowing ridges fading to soft light. When she was asleep, Mara whispered, "You realize what this means, right? If she's part human, the Voran might see her as a threat or an experiment gone wrong. They'll come for her." Eli clenched his fists. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Mara sighed, rubbing her temples. "You're risking everything, your life, the colony. But I'll help you for now. I can build a neural shield to block her signal. It might hide her from their scanners." Eli's shoulders dropped in relief. "Thank you, Mara." She packed her tools and said quietly, "Just be ready. If they find out she's here, nothing in this colony will stop them." That night after Mara left, Eli sat beside Lyra's bed. The lights in the dome were dim. He watched her sleep, her tiny hand resting on his arm. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't known he missed. Love. Outside, the red planet slept under a thin sky. But far beyond it, in the cold dark of space, something ancient had begun to move. A signal pulsed through the void. A voice answered it. "The hybrid lives," it said, "and she is with a human." The next week on Mars Colony 12 felt different, quieter, heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. Eli noticed it first through the hum of the radio towers. Strange static had started pulsing every night, sharp and rhythmic. It wasn't random noise. It was a signal repeating every 30 minutes. He sat by his work table, listening through the speakers, his jaw tight. The message wasn't human. The tone carried that cold, metallic edge that only alien transmissions had. And deep inside, Eli already knew who it was. The Voron were searching. Outside, the red desert looked calm, but the scanners told another story. Faint heat traces moving across the sand, far beyond the colony walls. Patrols. He turned toward Lyra. The little one sat near the window, tracing shapes on the glass with glowing fingers. She was growing fast, too fast. Her once baby form had changed. She now looked more like a small child, her voice in his mind clearer, her eyes brighter. "You're worried, Daddy," she said softly. Eli sighed. "You can feel that?" She nodded, her silver eyes shimmering. "They're close. I can hear them calling." He froze. "Calling? What do you mean?" Lyra pointed toward the red horizon. "In my head. The old ones. They say I don't belong." Eli's heart thudded hard. "You don't listen to them, you hear me? You're safe here," but she shook her head slowly. "They know I'm here." That evening, the colony alarms began to ring. Red lights flashed across the sky dome as a message echoed through the loudspeakers. "Attention all residents. Multiple unidentified crafts detected entering low orbit. All civilians return to shelters immediately." Eli looked up from his console, fear tightening his chest. Through the dome glass he saw them. 5 sleek silver ships gliding silently across the Martian sky. They made no sound, only left trails of cold blue light behind them. The Voron had arrived. He grabbed Lyra and wrapped her in a coat. "We have to hide." He rushed to his underground workshop, locking the steel doors behind them. Lyra clung to him, trembling. Her glow dimmed until she looked almost human in the dark. Outside, a low hum vibrated through the ground. Then came a sound like thunder, but deeper, sharper, a voice. Not spoken through air, but through minds. Human colony detected. Return the child of Voreen or suffer destruction. Eli felt it tear through his thoughts like ice. He fell to his knees, holding his head. Lyra cried, Stop, please." But the voice only grew stronger. "She is not yours. She belongs to us." Eli forced himself up. "No, she's not your property." The workshop lights flickered. Sparks flew from the power lines. Then silence. Lyra's small hand reached out and touched his cheek. "They're angry, Daddy." He swallowed hard. "Then let them be angry. I'm not giving you up." The next morning, the Colony Council ordered him to report. Inside the main hall, Commander Rick stood with 2 guards, her face pale. "Eli Turner," she said sharply. "Our sensors picked up alien signals near your sector. Do you know anything about it?" Eli hesitated. "No, ma'am." Rick's eyes narrowed. "We found traces of non-human DNA in the dust near your dome. Don't lie to me, Turner. You've got something out there, don't you?" He said nothing. Mara stepped forward from the crowd, her face tense. "Commander, if he says he doesn't—" "Quiet, Dr. Lin," Rick snapped. "If this man is harboring an alien, he's endangering us all. The Voron will destroy the entire colony." Eli clenched his fists. "They're already here. They want a child. If we hand her over, we're no better than them." Rick slammed her hand on the table. "That's not your choice to make." Eli's voice rose. "Then whose is it, theirs? You'd let a baby die to save yourselves?" The room went silent. The commander stared at him, speechless. Finally, she whispered, "Eli, you have 24 hours to surrender the creature. After that, we'll take her by force." That night, Eli stood outside the dome, looking up at the glowing ships above. They hovered like silent eyes, waiting. Lyra stood beside him, holding his hand. Her voice trembled in his mind. "If I go, will they stop?" Eli looked down at her, his heart breaking. "I won't let them take you. They'll hurt you, Daddy." He knelt down, his voice low and steady. "I've fixed broken machines my whole life, Lyra. But you fixed me. You made me feel alive again. And no one's taking that away." She blinked, small tears forming at the corners of her silver eyes. Above them, the alien ships began to descend slowly through the clouds. Their lights grew brighter, their engines silent but full of power. Eli looked at them and whispered, "Come if you want. I'm ready." He didn't see Mara standing far away on the colony tower, watching. She held a small device glowing red, a beacon pulsing faintly, sending a signal into space. The humans weren't the only ones preparing for a fight. The Martian night had never felt so heavy. Eli Turner stood in the middle of his small dome, holding a packed survival bag. Outside, the red sky burned with alien lights. The Voran ships hung above the colony like silent ghosts. The humans inside the domes were terrified, whispering that the end had come. Eli didn't care about himself. He cared about one thing, Lyra. The little girl sat on the floor watching him pack. Her silver eyes were dim tonight, full of worry. "They're still calling me," she said softly. "They say I'm a mistake." Eli knelt in front of her, his voice calm but firm. "You listen to me. You're not a mistake. You're my daughter. Understand?" She blinked, her eyes wet. "But you'll get hurt because of me." He smiled sadly. "Maybe, but you're worth it." The colony alarms wailed again. Through the intercom came Commander Rix's voice, cold, final. "Attention all units. Eli Turner has been declared a threat to colony safety. Detain him immediately. The alien child must be surrendered to the Varine." Eli cursed under his breath. So much for 24 hours. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her toward the hidden tunnel at the back of the dome. It was an old maintenance shaft he dug years ago, leading out into the Martian wastelands. As they crawled through the narrow tunnel, Lyra asked, "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe," he said, "far from their scanners." Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed through the dome. The colony guards had arrived. "Turner!" one shouted. "Stop right there." Eli didn't stop. He reached the exit hatch, kicked it open, and pulled Lyra out into the cold night. Red dust blew across the dunes like fog. He looked back once. Through the tunnel, he saw the beam of a flashlight and the shadow of Mara Lynn. She was holding something in her hand, a small device glowing blue. "Eli," she called. "Don't do this. You can't run forever." He hesitated, torn between trust and fear. "You told them where I was?" Her eyes filled with guilt. "They threatened to destroy the colony. Please, let me help you." He shook his head. "You had your chance." Then he turned and ran into the dark, the child clinging to his chest. Hours passed. The wasteland stretched endlessly under a black sky. Eli's oxygen gauge blinked low, but he didn't stop. He carried Lyra wrapped in a heat blanket, shielding her from the wind. She rested her head on his shoulder, whispering faintly, "Daddy, I can make the air better." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Her ridges began to glow. A faint shimmer surrounded them, a bubble of soft blue energy. Eli's oxygen gauge flickered, then steadied. He stared in awe. "You're making air?" She nodded weakly. "Just a little." "Don't be mad," he laughed breathlessly. "Mad? You just saved us." But as they walked deeper into the desert, the sky above them lit up again, bright, cold, and merciless. The Voran ships were spreading across the horizon. Search beams swept the sand. Lyra shivered. "They found us." Eli set her down gently and took out his plasma blaster. "Let them come." He stood between the child and the light, his boots sinking into the dust. The wind roared. A mechanical drone descended, hovering low. Its metallic voice echoed, "Human Turner. Return the child or be destroyed." Eli raised his weapon. "You'll have to kill me first." "Unnecessary," the drone replied. "You will die either way." It fired a beam of light. Eli rolled to the side, the blast burning the sand. He fired back, hitting the drone's wing. Sparks exploded as it spiraled down and crashed into the dunes. Another drone appeared, then another. He kept firing until his weapon overheated, smoke rising from its barrel. He looked down. It was useless now. He turned to Lyra. "Run!" But she didn't move. Her eyes glowed bright silver, her small hands trembling. "Lyra!" he shouted. Then the air around her began to vibrate. The wind stopped. The dust froze mid-air. Her voice was no longer small. It echoed like thunder inside his mind. "Stop. Don't hurt him." A pulse of pure energy exploded from her body, lighting the desert in white fire. The drones disintegrated instantly, their remains scattered like ash. The silence that followed was deep and heavy. Lyra fell to her knees, her glow fading. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. Her voice was weak now. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted to keep you safe." He held her tight. "You did good, sweetheart." "You did good." He looked up at the sky. The Voran ships had stopped moving, as if stunned. But he knew this was far from over. They would come again, stronger. He kissed Lyra's forehead and whispered, "No one's taking you from me. Not them. Not anyone." Far above, in the silent orbit, the largest ship turned slowly toward the colony. A voice echoed across the stars. "The human resists. Send the hunters." And down on Mars, Eli Turner held his daughter and prepared for war. The red sun rose weakly over the Martian desert, painting the sand in shades of fire and rust. Eli Turner sat beside a half-broken shelter he'd built from old mining panels, holding Lyra in his arms. She hadn't woken since the night before when her light had exploded and destroyed the alien drones. Her skin was pale blue now, almost transparent. Faint silver lines glowed beneath the surface like rivers of light. She looked peaceful but too still. "Come on, kid," Eli whispered, brushing dust from her forehead. "Don't quit on me now." There was no answer. Only the whispering wind. He looked out at the horizon. The colony was miles away, hidden behind red dunes. He couldn't go back. The humans would lock her up, the aliens would kill her, and both would call it safety. He was running out of oxygen, food, and time. But he wasn't giving up. He opened his radio and tried to contact Mara Lynn. The signal crackled for a long moment before her voice came through, thin and worried. "Eli, are you alive?" "Barely," he said. "Lyra's weak. She's not waking up." There was a pause. "You have to hide her energy signature. The Voran fleet is scanning every dune for her. They know she used her power." "Her power," Eli frowned. "What even is she, Mara?" Mara's voice dropped to a whisper. "A hybrid. Half Voran, half human. They must have created her using stolen human DNA. Maybe yours, maybe someone else's, but they didn't expect her to survive. The Voran hate weakness, and mixing species is the greatest weakness of all." Eli's stomach twisted. "They made her. Then threw her away?" "Yes," Mara said softly. "And now that she's alive, they'll destroy anything to erase that mistake." Before he could reply, the radio buzzed with static. A second voice cut through, a deep, cold tone that wasn't human. "Human Turner, your defiance ends here." The radio went dead. Eli looked up at the sky. 3 dark figures descended through the dusty air, Voran hunters, tall and armored, their suits glowing with cold blue light. They landed silently on the sand, their helmets turning toward him. Lyra stirred weakly in his arms. "Daddy!" He pressed a finger to her lips. "Don't talk, sweetheart. Just rest." The nearest hunter spoke, his voice echoing inside Eli's mind. "Return the child. Her existence is forbidden." Eli stood, placing Lyra behind him. "You abandoned her. She's mine now." The hunter's armor shimmered. "You claim ownership of what you cannot protect." Eli raised his blaster. "We'll see about that." The hunter moved first, faster than any human could follow. Eli fired, hitting its shoulder. The blast only left a scorch mark. The alien raised a hand, and a pulse of energy knocked Eli backward into the sand. Pain shot through his chest. His blaster slid from his hand. The second hunter stepped forward, a blue spear forming from light. "The hybrid dies today." "Over my dead body," Eli growled. They moved toward Lyra. Her eyes opened, wide, glowing silver. She looked at Eli, then at the aliens. "Stop," she whispered. The air around her rippled. The sand began to rise, swirling like a storm. The hunters froze as if gravity itself had shifted. Eli could barely breathe. "Lyra, what are you doing?" Her small hands lifted, trembling. "They hurt you? I won't let them." The glow around her body grew until it was blinding. The wind screamed. The sky cracked with white light. The hunters shouted something in their language, but their words were swallowed by the sound. Their armor shattered like glass. One by one, they vanished into dust. When it was over, the desert was silent again. The storm died. Lyra fell forward, collapsing into Eli's arms. He looked down at her, terrified and amazed. You saved me." Her voice was faint. "I didn't mean to hurt them. I just wanted to make them stop." He hugged her close. "You did what you had to do." But as he held her, he noticed something glowing on the horizon, a beam of blue light rising from the Voran flagship. A signal, they knew. Eli whispered, "They'll come for you again." Lyra opened her eyes slightly. "Then we keep running?" He shook his head. "No, sweetheart. We stop running." He stood, holding her tight, staring at the massive ship in the distance. "If they want to fight, they'll get one." In orbit, the Voran commander watched the destruction through cold silver eyes. "The hybrid has awakened," he said. "Deploy the destroyers." And down on the silent red world, a human father carried his alien daughter toward the storm, ready to face the impossible. The Martian wind howled like a warning. Red dust rolled over the dunes, glowing under the blue light of alien ships descending from the clouds. Eli Turner stood on the ridge, clutching Lyra in his arms. Her small fingers gripped his jacket tightly. She was weak, pale, her silver eyes dim, but alive. Above them, the Voran flagship split the sky. It was massive, black metal and blue fire, casting a shadow that stretched for miles. Smaller crafts circled around it like hawks waiting for the kill. Eli set Lyra down gently and whispered, "Stay behind me." She looked up at him, her voice trembling inside his mind. "You can't fight them all, Daddy," he smiled softly. "Maybe not, but I can try." He raised his blaster, though he knew it was useless against ships the size of cities. Then, a deep voice echoed through the air, not through speakers, but directly into every human mind on Mars. Human Eli Turner, you have something that belongs to us. Surrender the hybrid child and your species will live. The voice carried power. Even from miles away, Eli could feel it vibrate in his bones. He shouted into the storm, "You left her to die. She doesn't belong to you, she belongs to no one." A bright beam of blue light cut down from the sky, striking the sand just meters away. The heat seared his face, but he didn't move. Then the light shifted, and a figure appeared. Tall, elegant, and terrible, the Voran High Commander floated down, his silver armor shining like liquid. His eyes glowed with pale fire, and when he spoke, the ground trembled. "You protect a mistake. That creature should never have existed." Eli stood his ground. "She's not a mistake. She's proof that life doesn't care about your rules." The alien tilted his head, almost curious. "You humans think love can change the laws of the galaxy?" Eli's voice hardened. "It already has." The commander raised his hand. Energy crackled in the air. "Then you will die with her." Before he could strike, Lyra stepped forward. Her small body glowed again, brighter than before. She looked up at the alien and said softly, "Stop hurting my daddy." The commander hesitated. His eyes flickered with confusion. "You dare speak to me?" Lyra's voice filled the desert, soft, echoing, and full of strange power. "You threw me away because you feared what I was. But I am not fear. I am both of you." The wind rose. The red dust began to swirl around her. Eli backed away, shielding his eyes. Lyra's glow turned white, then golden. Her small feet lifted off the ground. Streams of energy flowed from her hands into the sky. The Voran ships above flickered, their lights dimming, their weapons powering down. The commander shouted, "What are you doing?" Lyra's eyes were no longer silver, they were pure light. "I'm showing you what humans taught me." All across the sky the ships froze. Then one by one they lowered their weapons. Their engines fell silent. The world went still. Eli could feel something spreading, a wave, invisible but powerful. It wasn't destruction. It was peace. The alien soldiers lowered their heads, their thoughts filled with something they had never known before. Empathy. The commander staggered back. His voice cracked. "Impossible. What is this feeling?" Eli stepped forward, his eyes wet. "That's what you've been missing all this time. It's called mercy." Lyra floated down slowly, the light fading from her body. She looked up at the commander, her small voice trembling. "You don't have to be cruel. You can change." For a long, heavy moment, the alien said nothing. Then he turned his eyes to the horizon where the colony domes glowed faintly in the distance. "Perhaps we were wrong about your kind." Without another word, he raised his hand. The ships in the sky began to pull away, one by one, vanishing into the stars. The blue glow faded until only the red sun remained. The desert was silent again. Eli dropped to his knees, exhausted. Lyra ran to him and wrapped her small arms around his neck. He held her tight, whispering, "You did it, Lyra. You stopped a war." She smiled sleepily. "No, Daddy, we did." He laughed softly, tears falling into the Martian dust. "Yeah, kid, we did." As the first rays of sunlight broke through the storm, Lyra looked up and whispered one last word into his heart. Home. And for the first time in history, both human and alien looked at Mars not as a battlefield but as a beginning. A small, fragile spark of peace had been born in the red dust, and it started with a single human who said no.